Chosen one. You did not find this message. This message found you. You are here by divine appointment, drawn by a pull that has followed you your entire life. A pull you could never quite explain, but always felt in the deepest chambers of your spirit. Something in you has been awakening, stirring, rising, and today that hidden identity is stepping out of the shadows. This is not coincidence. This is calling. Before you were even formed, heaven whispered your name. As written in Jeremiah chapter 1 verse 5, before you were born, you were set apart. And now, chosen one, the veil over your true nature is beginning to lift. You have carried signs since childhood. The sensitivities you tried to hide, the intuition, you could never silence the dreams, the visions, the sudden knowing, the unexplainable protection around your life. These were not random traits. They were markers of origin, spiritual fingerprints that revealed you belonged to a rare lineage, an anointed bloodline heaven has guarded for generations. And now, anointed one God is about to prove why he chose you. You are standing at the edge of revelation, a holy unveiling of who you truly are. Let your spirit open. Let your faith rise. What enters your life after this moment will not just transform your circumstances, it will transform you. Chosen one. Listen closely, because what is unfolding in your life right now is not ordinary. You have stepped into a divine appointment, a moment that has been written into your story long before you ever understood why the path felt so heavy, why the silence felt so loud, or why the waiting felt endless. This is not just another message. This is a spiritual unveiling, a holy revelation meant specifically for you. And whether you realize it or not, heaven has been preparing you for this moment. You have carried signs since childhood, signs you couldn't fully explain, moments where you felt different, moments where you sensed things others seemed completely unaware of. Some called it sensitivity. Others said you were too emotional. But heaven called it spiritual sight. Heaven called it prophetic wiring. Heaven called it the mark of the chosen. And now, anointed one, those same markers are rising to the surface because your identity is demanding to be recognized. Maybe you didn't grow up hearing that you were set apart. Maybe your childhood felt more like chaos than calling. I get that because I've walked through seasons where the noise around me felt louder than God's whisper. But even in those moments, something in me refused to die, and that same something is alive in you. That inner knowing you carried, the sense that you didn't quite fit in with the crowds around you, wasn't rejection. It was redirection. It was heaven's way of keeping you from shrinking into an identity that was never meant to hold you. Chosen one. Your difference has always been your evidence. The world didn't understand it, but heaven celebrated it. And now God is about to prove why he chose you. You've walked through storms that should have broken you, yet here you are. You've endured nights where your spirit felt stretched beyond what your emotions could carry, yet here you are. You've survived seasons where the enemy tried to convince you that being overlooked meant you were unqualified, yet here you are, still breathing, still seeking, still rising, and that alone is proof that something greater has been guarding your life. I remember seasons when I asked God the same questions you've whispered in the dark. Why so many delays? Why so many losses? Why so many closed doors? And the answer wasn't loud, but it was clear. You're not being denied, you're being developed. You're being refined for something far bigger than your present understanding. Chosen one, heaven has been shaping your inner life in ways that will soon manifest publicly. The misalignment you felt in certain places wasn't your fault. You weren't meant to plant yourself in environments that couldn't see your value. The discomfort you felt around certain people wasn't insecurity, it was discernment. God has been upgrading your awareness, sharpening your spirit, and heightening your sensitivity, because He's positioning you to stand in rooms where clarity is needed, not confusion. The hidden identity you've carried, this rare sacred origin, has been unfolding slowly, but it's about to come into full view. You were chosen long before you knew what chosen meant. You were marked long before you knew what the mark was. And now your spirit is catching up to the truth heaven has always known. Some of the battles you fought were never about the situation itself. They were about what the situation was shaping within you. For years you may have wondered why the same patterns repeated, why people misunderstood you, why you carried burdens that felt heavier than your age. But what if those patterns weren't punishment? What if they were prophetic preparation? I've lived through moments where everything seemed to fall apart at once. And later, I realized those crumbling pieces were actually clearing space for what God was building. That's what's happening in your life. That inner pressure, the emotional stretching, the spiritual intensity, it's all evidence that heaven is making room for revelation. Chosen one, your hidden identity is rising. Your purpose is waking up. Your spirit is remembering what your mind forgot. And deep within you, something is stirring because you know this moment is sacred. You can feel it. You can sense it. And even if you can't explain it, your soul is saying yes. You are not being prepared for an ordinary assignment. You are being prepared for divine evidence. Evidence that will show up in your steps, your voice, your influence, and your atmosphere. You were never meant to blend in. You were meant to carry light into places where darkness thought it had the final say. And now, heaven is shifting you into alignment, positioning you for a proving season where everything hidden becomes undeniable. So ask yourself this, chosen one. What if everything you've endured wasn't just survival? What if it was awakening, chosen one? As you step deeper into this revelation, you must understand that nothing in your life has been wasted. Every moment that confused you, every season that drained you, every relationship that broke you, and every unanswered prayer you cried through has been part of a divine architecture shaping your identity from the inside out. You may not have seen the purpose in those experiences, but heaven did. Heaven watched you walk through fire without losing your compassion, watched you endure betrayal without letting bitterness take your heart, watched you survive disappointments that would have crushed someone less anointed. And that chosen one is the evidence of who you truly are. You are not ordinary. You never were. Even in your lowest moments, the fingerprint of God remained on your life. It is the reason you could feel pain deeply, but still love fiercely. It is the reason you could be surrounded by people, yet still feel spiritually set apart. It is the reason certain environments felt too small for you, even when you tried to fit into them. Your spirit was always aligned with a bigger calling, a higher identity, a deeper purpose that refused to let you settle. I've walked through these same patterns myself, seasons where I questioned why I couldn't enjoy what others seemed satisfied with, why my spirit felt restless in places that seemed comfortable to everyone else. It took me years to understand that discomfort is a prophetic signal. It means heaven is preparing to reposition you. When you feel a shift within, but nothing external has changed yet, that is the early stirring of spiritual alignment, and I know you felt that too. You felt the tug in your soul, the sense that something is coming, the quiet whisper telling you not to give up, because your story is about to bend in a direction you never imagined. That whisper isn't wishful thinking. It's your spirit remembering the assignment you were born with. And now, anointed one, the hidden signs around your life are becoming louder. Think about how many times you escaped situations that should have harmed you. Think about the moments where you didn't know why you were protected, why you were spared, why the path shifted right when it needed to. Those weren't coincidences. Those were spiritual markers, heavenly fingerprints guiding your journey, even when you didn't know where you were going. I've lived through those moments myself, where danger was near yet somehow peace surrounded me, where choices I almost made would have led me into destruction, but divine intervention redirected my steps. When I look back, I see clearly that I wasn't walking alone, and neither were you. Nothing about your survival has been natural. It has always been supernatural. Chosen one. You need to understand this truth deep in your bones. You were hidden not to be ignored, but to be preserved. God didn't allow you to be exposed too soon, because premature exposure would have crushed what He was still strengthening inside you. As painful as the silence was, it protected your spirit from voices that weren't meant to shape your destiny. As lonely as the path felt, it kept you from attaching your identity to people who would have mishandled your calling. Your hidden season was not a rejection. It was a shield. I felt that shield in my own life, times when God kept me in places I didn't understand, only for me to realize later that staying hidden kept me safe from people, decisions, and opportunities that would have contaminated my growth. That same protection has been over you. This is why you never fit into circles that didn't align with your spirit. This is why you lost connections you wanted to keep. This is why doors closed even when you thought you were ready. God was not withholding blessings. He was withholding burden. He was guarding the purity of your assignment. And now the timing is shifting because the preparation is ending. Your identity is awakening. The spiritual markers around your life are aligning. And heaven is ready to reveal what it's been building. Chosen one. There is a reason your spirit feels stirred listening to this. Something in you is recognizing truth. Something in you is remembering its origins. Something in you is saying, "This is who I really am." And as you lean into this moment, let the layers of doubt fall away. Let the old stories you told yourself fade. Let the fear of not being enough lose its grip. You are not stepping into a new identity. You are stepping into your true one, the one heaven wrote before you ever inhaled your first breath. So I ask you to consider this chosen one. What if everything you lost was making room for what you were always meant to carry? What if everything that broke you was shaping you into someone strong enough to hold the blessing? And what if everything you thought was the end was actually the beginning of your unveiling, chosen one? As we step deeper into this divine unveiling, I want you to recognize something sacred about your journey that you may have overlooked. There have been moments in your life when you felt an inexplicable heaviness, a sense that you were carrying more than what your circumstances suggested. You weren't imagining that weight. That was spiritual responsibility resting on a soul that heaven trusted. While others seemed to move through life untouched by deeper questions, you were wrestling with purpose, identity, and destiny long before you even understood those words. And that wrestling was not a sign of weakness. It was a sign of calling. A sign that heaven had imprinted something rare into your spirit, something that refused to let you settle for a life that contradicted your divine design. Even in moments when you tried to run from your assignment, something always pulled you back toward the light. That pull was not guilt or pressure, it was recognition. It was your spirit remembering where you truly come from. As you grew older, you may have noticed how your path never looked like everyone else's. While others followed patterns and timelines that made sense, your journey felt different, unpredictable, and often misunderstood. You watched people around you receive opportunities, connections, or clarity, while you were left questioning why the doors did not open for you in the same way. But chosen paths rarely resemble ordinary ones. You were not designed to walk a familiar road. You were designed for a path that requires faith, sensitivity, and spiritual awareness. A path where every delay shapes endurance, every setback sharpens discernment, and every silent season teaches you to hear God's whisper more clearly than the noise of the world. I had moments where I felt years behind everyone else, wondering if I had somehow failed the assignment on my life. But every time I looked back, I realized I wasn't behind. I was being built. Not to move faster, but to move with purpose. And I know that if you look closely enough, you'll see pieces of that same truth woven into your story. Chosen, one part of the reason your journey has felt intense is because your spirit is wired to sense spiritual realities before they manifest physically. You feel shifts in people, environments, and seasons before anyone else notices them. You pick up on dishonesty, hidden motives, and spiritual danger quicker than most. You can walk into a room and sense the energy without a single word being spoken. That sensitivity is not a curse, no matter who told you it was. It is a gift, a sign, a marker of your prophetic identity. I used to wonder why certain crowds drained me faster than others, why certain conversations made my spirit feel heavy, or why certain people made me feel anxious, even when they were smiling. Over time, I realized that my spirit wasn't reacting to the surface, it was responding to the unseen. And that's something you've experienced too. You're not reacting to people, you're responding to spirits. That's the difference between someone who is chosen and someone who is merely present. Your discernment. Chosen one is growing sharper because you are entering a season where clarity is no longer optional, it's essential. You've outgrown environments that once felt comfortable. You've outgrown relationships that once felt necessary. You've outgrown versions of yourself that were built for survival, but not for destiny. And with every layer you shed, a clearer version of your identity rises. You may have wondered why people left your life so suddenly, why certain friendships couldn't last, or why certain opportunities fell apart at the last minute. It's because God refuses to let you attach your destiny to places that cannot sustain your purpose. He refuses to let you carry dead weight into a season that requires spiritual precision. And He refuses to let your anointing be diluted by environments that dishonor it. I've walked through painful transitions that felt like loss, but later revealed themselves to be divine protection, and I believe that if you reflect long enough, you'll recognize the same pattern in your own journey. Chosen one. This is the moment where heaven is aligning every hidden piece of your story, your sensitivity, your scars, your intuition, your resilience, your dreams, your burdens. All of it is part of the calling. You were not shaped randomly. You were not made accidentally. You carry a design that is connected to heaven's blueprint, and everything you've endured has prepared your spirit to hold revelation that not everyone is ready for. You are stepping into a season where the truth about who you are will no longer whisper. It will speak. It will manifest. It will rise through your actions, your words, your presence, and your influence. The world may have overlooked you, but heaven never did. And now, heaven is making sure the world will no longer be able to ignore what God has placed on your life. So pause for a moment, anointed one, and let this settle in your spirit. What if the confusion you felt was actually clarity being born? What if the things you thought were breaking you were actually building you? And what if the identity you've been searching for has been inside you all along, waiting for this exact moment to awaken, chosen one? As we move further into this revelation, I want you to understand that you have been living in a spiritual reality long before your mind had language for it. There were moments when you were younger, moments you tried to brush off, moments where you sensed things you could not explain. You walked into rooms and felt the atmosphere shift. You met people and immediately discerned their intentions, even when their words sounded kind. You experienced dreams that felt more like warnings or instructions than random images. And every time you tried to dismiss these things as imagination, something in your soul whispered, "Pay attention." You didn't know it then, but those were early signs of your spiritual identity unfolding. Those moments were heaven's fingerprints marking you long before you understood what being chosen actually meant. And now, as life has matured, those same senses are increasing because you are stepping into the fullness of who you've always been beneath the surface. The reason your path has felt more intense than others is because your anointing attracts a different kind of warfare. You carry a calling that threatens what darkness tries to preserve. You may not see it, but the enemy has always recognized you. That is why certain attacks followed you early, why certain storms came before you were spiritually prepared for them, why certain losses felt like they were targeting your very identity. Chosen one, your battles didn't come because you were weak. They came because you were marked. The enemy tries to exhaust those he fears the most. But look at you now. Even after everything, you did not lose your softness. You did not lose your empathy. You did not lose the ability to feel deeply or love deeply. And that alone is proof of the divine hand that has been protecting your heart. I've walked through similar patterns myself, seasons where I thought I was being attacked because I was failing spiritually, when in reality I was being attacked because I carried something the enemy wanted to silence. It took time for me to realize that certain battles were never about the situation at all. They were about the assignment I had not yet stepped into, and I know you felt that too. You've had moments where the weight of life felt personal, almost intentional, like something was trying to keep you small or hidden. That sensation wasn't paranoia. It was discernment. You weren't imagining the resistance. Resistance is the language heaven uses when breakthrough is near. Chosen one. One of the greatest hidden signs of your identity has been your inability to stay in places your spirit has outgrown. Even when your mind tried to convince you to stay for comfort, convenience, or familiarity, something inside you kept pushing you out. People call it restlessness, but spiritually, it is misalignment. When God is moving you from one season into another, He will make the old environment uncomfortable. He will remove your peace from places where your purpose cannot flourish. You've felt that. The conversations that once energized you now drain you. The relationships that once felt safe now feel limiting. The habits that once felt harmless now feel heavy. Your spirit has matured past what your environment has provided. This is proof that heaven is positioning you for something greater. Another sign of your calling is the way people have responded to you throughout your life. Even before you understood your identity, others sensed something different about you. Some were drawn to your presence, comforted by your energy, strengthened by your words, even when you didn't realize you were speaking life. And others reacted to you with jealousy, discomfort, or unexplained irritation. It had nothing to do with your personality. It had everything to do with your spirit. Light exposes, and people whose intentions are cloudy feel unsettled around someone who carries clarity. I've had people treat me coldly without reason, only for me to later learn they were intimidated by what I carried. You've experienced that as well. You've walked into places and felt eyes on you, not because you were doing anything unusual, but because your spirit spoke before you ever said a word. Chosen one. Your journey has also been marked by divine interruptions, moments where things didn't go as planned, no matter how much effort you gave. Opportunities slipped away. Plans fell through. Paths closed abruptly. You may have thought it was rejection, but looking back, can you see how those closed doors protected you, how they redirected you to safer ground, how they prevented you from entering spaces that would have drained your soul or delayed your growth? I've seen this pattern in my own life, opportunities I begged for falling apart, only for God to bring something better later. And the same God who orchestrated my steps has been orchestrating yours. You have also carried a kind of endurance that doesn't make sense to people around you. Even when you were exhausted, something kept you pushing forward. When you had no support, something inside you refused to quit. When you felt emotionally drained, a strength you couldn't explain surfaced. That strength wasn't human, it was spiritual. It was the truth of your identity revealing itself each time life tried to bury it. That is why you've survived what others couldn't. You weren't just surviving, you were being shaped. Now heaven is bringing all those hidden signs together. Your sensitivity, your endurance, your discernment, your setbacks, your protection, your spiritual perception, all of it has been preparing you for what is unfolding now. This is not a season of coincidence. This is a season of unveiling. You are stepping into a level of clarity where the questions you carried for years will begin to answer themselves. You are entering a season where your spirit and your purpose finally align. And once that alignment begins, nothing can pull you back into who you used to be. So pause, Anointed One, and ask yourself this. If all these signs have been pointing to something sacred within you, then what exactly is heaven preparing to reveal next, Chosen One? As we continue deeper into this awakening of your identity, I want you to understand something that will shift the way you see every chapter of your life. Nothing you've been through was random. Not the heartbreaks, not the setbacks, not the long seasons where you felt stuck between who you used to be and who you were becoming. Every experience was a thread in a divine tapestry that heaven began weaving long before you took your first breath. You may have felt unseen or forgotten during those difficult seasons, but heaven was paying attention to every detail, every decision, every emotion. What looked like delays were actually alignments. What felt like silence was actually strategy. And what seemed like loneliness was actually a sacred invitation into deeper intimacy with the one who crafted your spirit with intentionality. There were moments when you questioned yourself, wondering why life seemed to demand more from you than from the people around you. You saw others receive answers quicker, breakthroughs sooner, support more easily. Meanwhile, you had to fight through layers of confusion, disappointments, and unanswered questions. But the reason your process was different is because your calling is different. Some people are built for comfort. You were built for impact. Some people walk familiar paths. You are walking a prophetic one. And the path of a prophetic soul is rarely smooth or predictable. It bends, it breaks, it stretches, but it always leads to revelation. I've walked through seasons where it felt like God was rewriting my story in real time, closing doors I wanted open and opening ones I wasn't ready for. And only later did I understand that every reroute was protection. You've experienced that too, even if you didn't recognize it at the time. Chosen One. One of the greatest spiritual signs of your identity has been the way you've always carried wisdom beyond your years. Even as a child, you thought deeply, felt deeply, and questioned things others never stopped to consider. You could sense when something wasn't right, long before it was exposed. You could feel people's intentions long before they acted. This wisdom was not learned, it was given. It was the whisper of your spiritual lineage, showing itself early, the mark of someone who was born with divine insight. I remember moments where I felt like an old soul trapped in a young body, seeing the world with lenses I didn't yet understand. You've felt that too. You've always had a kind of knowing, an intuition that felt sacred, a discernment that felt ancient. And that knowing was never meant to disappear. It was meant to mature. Another sign revealing your hidden identity is your resilience. People underestimate the battles you fought because you carry them with grace. They don't see the nights you cried, the doubts you wrestled with, the fears you confronted alone. They don't know the strength it took to get up each day with hope still flickering even when you were surrounded by disappointment. Your strength doesn't look loud, but it is powerful. It shows up in your ability to keep loving, even after being wounded, to keep trying, even after failing, to keep believing, even after being disappointed. That kind of resilience isn't human, it's spiritual. It's the kind of strength born in the fire and refined in the wilderness. You didn't learn resilience, you inherited it. Chosen one. You have also carried a kind of compassion that sets you apart. You don't just feel emotions, you absorb them, interpret them, understand them. When someone is hurting, you feel it in your spirit. When someone is lying, you sense it instantly. When someone is genuine, your heart opens. This isn't emotional instability, this is spiritual sensitivity. Some people see the surface, you see the soul. And while this compassion has sometimes been used against you, while people have taken your kindness as weakness or mistaken your empathy for naivety, heaven saw it differently. Compassion is one of the greatest indicators of divine purpose. The most transformational leaders, healers, and anointed vessels are the ones who feel deeply. It is that depth that allows God to move through you in ways others may never understand. Another undeniable sign is the way your life has been preserved. Think about the accidents you avoided, the dangers you walked away from, the relationships that ended just in time, the places you almost entered, but something held you back. These were not coincidences. These were divine interventions. These were spiritual shields placed around your life long before you were aware of them. There were moments when destruction stood near, but grace stood closer. Moments where your choices could have taken you down a path of ruin, but something redirected you. I've had near misses in my life that I can't explain logically. And when I look back now, I realize those near misses were mercy. You've had them too, and they weren't lucky breaks. They were proof that your story carries too much purpose to be destroyed prematurely. Chosen one. This is why your spirit feels like it's waking up now. This is why you feel a shift inside, a sense that something bigger is calling you forward. Heaven has been preparing you piece by piece, layer by layer, moment by moment. But now the preparation is giving way to revelation. The identity that has been forming in the dark is about to rise in the light. Everything you've endured has been pointing you to this exact moment. The signs were never scattered, they were aligned. And now your spirit is ready to understand what your life has been trying to tell you all along. So pause and consider this. If heaven has invested this much into shaping you, preserving you, and awakening you, then what exactly is waiting on the other side of this revelation, chosen one? As we move deeper into this revelation of who you truly are, I want you to breathe for a moment and let the weight of everything you've lived through settle in your spirit. There is a reason your life has never been ordinary, even when you wished for normal. There is a reason relationships felt heavier, lessons felt sharper, and seasons felt longer. Your spirit has always been wired differently. You were never meant to blend into the crowd because heaven wrote distinction into your DNA. And whether you realized it or not, the journey you've walked has been shaping you for a level of spiritual clarity and identity awareness that only a few ever reach. You've carried questions for years that others never think to ask. You've felt realities others cannot see. You've wrestled with invisible battles while still showing up in visible strength. That mystery around your life, the tension between your potential and your circumstances, the way people react to you even before they know you, all of it is connected to the anointing you carry. There is something else you need to understand more deeply. Chosen souls often go through seasons where they feel misunderstood, not because they are confusing, but because they operate on a different frequency. Your insights come from a place others don't have access to. Your heart hears things their minds cannot interpret. And your spirit discerns danger, deception, and divine alignment long before it manifests. That sensitivity you've tried to silence or suppress isn't weakness. It's a spiritual instrument. It has been picking up signals your logic could never explain. I remember going through years where I felt like I was always 10 steps ahead, emotionally and spiritually, yet 10 steps behind in physical progress. You've lived that paradox too. It's not incompetence, it's calling. You've been walking at heaven's pace, not earth's timeline, and that difference shows up in ways that confuse the people around you but clarify your divine identity. Chosen. Another sign you must recognize is your ability to feel spiritual atmospheres shift. You've walked into rooms and felt heaviness even before anyone spoke. You've been near someone and sensed their intention before they expressed it. You've met people who felt like familiar spirits, not because you knew them, but because your soul recognized their energy instantly. This ability is rare, and it has nothing to do with being intuitive in a worldly sense. It comes from having a spirit that has been awakened through experience, suffering, and divine protection. Your spirit has learned how to listen in ways others never needed to. And while this sensitivity has sometimes made life overwhelming, it has also been your greatest shield. It is why you avoided betrayals before they deepened. It is why you sensed truth in moments that could have deceived you. It is why you have survived environments that should have crushed you. You've also carried a deep spiritual restlessness your whole life, a sense that you were meant for more, even when you didn't have the words to describe it. That restlessness is not dissatisfaction. It is destiny. It is the echo of heaven reminding you that you were designed for a higher purpose. I felt that same tug in seasons where my life looked stable on the outside, but unsettled on the inside. It was the discomfort of knowing that where I was did not match who I was becoming. You felt that too. It wasn't frustration, it was prophecy. It was your future calling your present to attention. That restlessness has been one of the greatest signs of your divine identity, urging you to rise, grow, and step toward the version of yourself heaven has always seen. Chosen one. The warfare you faced has been another undeniable sign of your identity. People with small callings do not attract heavy attacks, but your battles have been fierce because your purpose is fierce. You've had seasons where the opposition felt larger than life. Times where you felt like you were carrying battles you didn't start, fighting enemies you didn't provoke, and surviving storms you didn't cause. But the truth is, the enemy saw your anointing long before you did. Darkness targeted you because your light threatened it. Spiritual warfare did not surround your life because you were weak, but because you were marked. And every time you rose after falling, every time you forgave when you had every right to hate, every time you loved when others gave up, you revealed the strength of your calling. Warfare didn't break you, it confirmed you. There is another sign you may have overlooked: the way people have reacted to your presence your whole life. Some were drawn to you instantly without knowing why. Others resisted you, avoided you, or felt intimidated without cause. This wasn't about your personality, it was about your spirit. Anointed souls carry an atmosphere. They walk with a spiritual imprint that stirs what is hidden in others, both good and bad. Some people saw your purity and felt safe. Others saw their own darkness reflected and felt threatened. Some tried to connect to the light in you. Others tried to dim it. But all of their reactions said more about the weight you carried than the flaws you imagined you had. Chosen one identity is not only revealed by what you attract, but also by what you repel. And you have repelled darkness your entire life. You have repelled manipulation, deception, and hidden agendas, even when you didn't understand why. You have walked away from situations that others would have stayed trapped in. You have sensed when someone's spirit wasn't aligned with your path. And each time you were being trained in discernment without realizing it. Heaven was shaping your instincts, sharpening your vision, and preparing your spirit to recognize divine alignment instantly. That ability is part of your assignment. So as we close this portion of the journey, I want you to sit with this truth. The signs of your identity have never been subtle. They have followed you since childhood. They have shaped your adulthood. They have whispered through your victories and shouted through your struggles. And now all of them are converging into a single revelation. You are not becoming chosen. You have always been chosen. The only shift happening now is your awareness catching up to heaven's declaration. Chosen one. As we move deeper into this unfolding revelation, I want you to pay attention to the quiet truth that has been woven through your entire life, often unnoticed, yet always present. There has always been something different about you, something marked, something set apart. Even in the moments when you tried to blend in something within, you resisted the idea of being ordinary. You felt things others brushed off. You questioned things others accepted without thought. You sensed shifts in the atmosphere that others could not explain. And you carried a depth that seemed out of place in the environments you grew up in. This inner difference has followed you from childhood into adulthood, and every step of your journey has been shaped by it. You were never meant to fit the mold, because you were crafted to break it. And part of this sacred distinction is the spiritual blueprint written into your life, one that has been guiding you even when you felt lost. There were moments early in your life when you sensed things without proof. You knew when someone's intentions were not pure, even if their words sounded comforting. You recognized danger, manipulation, or spiritual heaviness long before it showed itself. These moments weren't imagination. They were prophetic instincts awakening inside you. I remember experiencing this too, sensing people before I understood people, recognizing patterns before anyone explained them, feeling the weight of rooms without knowing why. It was confusing at first, even frustrating, because it made me feel older on the inside than my age on the outside. But eventually, I realized those instincts were less about intuition and more about identity. You've lived this same dynamic. It's why people have underestimated you while heaven constantly nudged you forward. It's why you sometimes felt out of place, even in familiar settings. Your spirit has always been ahead of your surroundings, and that gap is a sign of divine calling. You've also experienced a kind of loneliness that isn't solved by being around people. It's a soul-level solitude, a sense of standing slightly apart from the world, no matter who you're with. This isn't because something is wrong with you. It's because your spirit is tuned to a higher frequency, one that not everyone can feel. Chosen ones often walk through seasons where God isolates them, not to punish them, but to protect them. Isolation becomes the incubator for revelation. It becomes the space where distractions are stripped away and identity becomes clear. You've lived through seasons where people drifted, doors closed, and opportunities dried up, not because you were unworthy, but because heaven was calling you into deeper formation. Even in those moments where you cried out asking why certain relationships died or why you felt so unseen, God was guarding your development. He was removing noise so you could hear your name more clearly in the Spirit. There is another sign. You must acknowledge the unusual favor you've experienced in unlikely places. Even when life was difficult, there were moments where something shifted suddenly in your favor. A door opened you didn't knock on. Someone helped you without you asking. An opportunity found you when you least expected it. These weren't coincidences. They were divine fingerprints. I've lived through similar moments where resources appeared out of nowhere, where guidance came at the exact moment I felt lost, where the right voice spoke into my life right before I made a wrong turn. These moments were not random, they were confirmation, and you have had these confirmations too, woven throughout your journey so subtly that you didn't realize heaven was lighting your path one moment at a time. Chosen one. The heaviness you've carried is another sign. Your heart has always felt the weight of things that didn't even belong to you. You've carried the pain of loved ones, the burdens of friends, the unspoken emotions of strangers. You've felt called to comfort, encourage, and heal, even when you yourself were hurting. This isn't because you are too emotional or too sensitive. It's because you have a healer's spirit. Your compassion is not a flaw, it is an anointing. You were built to feel deeply because you were created to carry light into dark places. When you cried for people who never cried for you, heaven took note. When you supported others with strength you barely had. It was evidence of the spiritual reservoir inside you. You have been pouring into others from a well heaven has been filling. Your empathy is not accidental. It is divine. The resistance you've faced is another undeniable sign. People have misunderstood you even when you explained yourself clearly. Some have been intimidated by your presence, sensing your strength even before you recognized it yourself. Others projected their insecurities onto you because your authenticity exposed what they were hiding. This resistance wasn't rejection, it was revelation. It showed you who was connected to your destiny and who was merely passing through your story. Every closed door protected you. Every painful season refined you. Every betrayal clarified your path. The resistance shaped your discernment, sharpened your boundaries, and deepened your wisdom. And now, chosen one, you stand in a moment where everything behind you begins to make sense. The loneliness, the sensitivity, the battles, the favor, the instincts, the resistance, they all point to one truth: you have been chosen from the beginning, not chosen later, not chosen after you proved yourself. Chosen at birth, chosen before birth, chosen with intention, assignment, and spiritual authority written into your very existence. And what you are stepping into now is not a new identity, but a full awakening to the identity you have carried all along. The next part of your journey requires awareness, not permission, confidence, not apology, alignment, not approval. And as we continue, you will see even more clearly how heaven has been preparing you for what comes next, because the unveiling is only just beginning. Chosen one. As we enter this next unfolding, I want you to recognize how every layer of your journey has been bringing you toward a moment like this one. You have been walking through a life that has never truly matched the world around you, and that mismatch has not been a curse but a confirmation. From childhood, there were signs etched into your path, calling you toward a destiny that your mind couldn't yet understand. You were the child who felt everything, who noticed everything, who sensed what others dismissed. You were the one who saw meaning in moments that seemed ordinary to everyone else. You questioned things no one in your circle questioned, and you carried a depth that made you feel older than your age. This depth has followed you into adulthood, and though it made you feel misunderstood, it also made you spiritually awake long before you knew what awakening meant. There were times when you tried to dim yourself just to fit in, but even then, life kept pulling you back into distinction. You would shrink your voice only for situations to arise that forced you to speak. You would quiet your intuition only to watch it become painfully right. You would try to follow the path others said was safe only for it to collapse beneath your feet, so you'd return to the one God marked for you. You've lived enough of these cycles to understand now that heaven has never allowed you to stay anywhere that wasn't aligned with your destiny. You have been divinely interrupted, redirected and protected more times than you can count, and every one of those reroutes was evidence that you were being guided, not abandoned. And through all of this, you developed an inner strength that no one taught you but God. You learned how to rebuild after loss, how to recover after disappointment, and how to rise after seasons that should have broken you. You became the kind of person who doesn't just survive storms, you interpret them. You look for meaning in the chaos, direction in the silence, healing in the pain. That ability comes from the spirit within you, a spirit heaven has been training through fire, through stretching, through solitude. Many people gain wisdom from books or from teachers, but you gained wisdom from experience, from battle, from spiritual bruises that matured you faster than the average soul. And this wisdom is not philosophical, it is prophetic. It is the kind of knowing that comes from being shaped directly by God's hand. Another sign that has always set you apart is the way life has positioned you as the anchor for others. Even in seasons where you felt unsteady, people came to you for guidance, comfort, and clarity. You became the quiet, safe place in the middle of chaos, the voice of calm, when others spiraled, the presence that made people feel understood without needing to explain everything. This is not just kindness, it is spiritual authority. People sense the stability God has cultivated in you. They recognize the peace that has been forged through storms. And while you sometimes resented being the strong one, heaven saw it as preparation, because leadership in the kingdom is birthed through service, and you have served even when you were the one in need. There is another truth you must see clearly. You were never meant to follow the timeline of the world. Others may have seemed ahead of you in career, relationships, finances, or accomplishments, and it made you wonder if something was wrong with you. But chosen ones move by divine timing, not human schedules. Your delays were divine. Your waiting seasons were not punishment. They were calibration periods where God aligned your heart, purified your intentions, and removed anything that would have contaminated your calling. When people rushed ahead, they entered spaces they weren't ready to carry. But you, chosen one, have been prepared to sustain what is coming. Your path has been slower because your purpose is greater. And now you're stepping into a moment where all those hidden signs begin to surface. You're noticing patterns in your past that suddenly make sense. You're feeling a spiritual pull you can no longer ignore. You're sensing that something is shifting, opening, awakening inside you. And you are right. This is the season where heaven begins to reveal you not only to the world, but to yourself. The identity you once doubted, the calling you questioned, the gifts you hid, they are rising. The same way seeds break open underground before they surface, you have been breaking open in the unseen. And now the roots are deep enough, the soil is ready, and the season has arrived. Chosen one, the unveiling is beginning. Your spirit knows it even before your mind can articulate it. You have entered a divine transition where the old version of you cannot follow and the new version of you cannot be stopped. You are stepping into clarity, confidence, and calling. And as we continue, you will understand not only why God chose you, but why He has been preparing you so intentionally for what comes next. Chosen one. Before you leave this sacred moment, let your spirit breathe in what heaven has been whispering over you. You are not here by accident. You were guided to this word because something in you is awakening, something ancient, something written long before your first breath. God is revealing why you have always felt different, why the path has been narrow, why the fire has been fierce. He is proving why He chose you, and this is only the beginning of what He is unfolding in your life. Chosen one, may this truth settle deeply into your soul. Your hidden identity is rising. The signs that have followed you since childhood are aligning. The markers of your sacred origin are becoming clear. Heaven is not just watching you. Heaven is guiding you, shaping you, preparing you for a divine assignment that carries weight, influence, and purpose. What God has placed upon you cannot be cancelled, diluted, or denied. You are stepping into a season where clarity replaces confusion, confidence replaces hesitation, and divine confirmation replaces doubt. So I speak this blessing over you now. May your spirit be strengthened. May your discernment sharpen. May your path be illuminated by the hand of God Himself. May doors open that no human can shut, and may every step you take be covered in divine protection and unmistakable favor. Walk as the anointed one you are. Move with authority. Move with grace. Move with the knowing that heaven has gone before you. If this message resonated with your spirit, let it be known. Comment below, share this word with someone who needs it, and stay connected to this space where the chosen rise together. Go forward, chosen one, with boldness, clarity, and unwavering faith. Your proving season has begun, and heaven is opening the way.